What's poppin', guys? Szyl here, and today we're taking a look at the 2018 Nuke collection. So, first things first, we have the Nova Mandrel, which, exists. Not sure exactly what they were going for here. This is just a standard fact new one. Lots of scratches. Luckily, mostly in the good places, like where the natural grooves are of the Nova. But the overall design is just uninspired. Like, there's some pipe work, I guess, with a gray stripe background that makes the pipes really hard to see in most, like, places, most lighting. Like, you can't even tell there's pipes here. And, kind of non-clean white front. Normally, white fronts are just really clean, but maybe it's because of all the scratches or something, but this one just does not look too great. And then the back is, yeah, it's just pipes. That's all it really is. Very, very basic 2D pipes, does not look 3D at all. And a basic gray background. I can't say this is particularly worse than stock. Um, but I can't really say this is particularly good. I guess I wouldn't really hate to own one of these or be using it. But at this point, you might as well be using stock. It's just a very, very basic gray finish. I'm going to put it in D tier. I don't really like it too much. Next up, we have the UMP45 Facility Dark, which, unluckily, is not a full finish. You know, the mag, the handle, and the second handle and the back are not using the skin texture. The back here actually weirdly is. It's using like a red back instead of the standard UMP. And the basic design seems to be dark blue background. I can't tell what this is in the middle, but it's clearly something. Maybe it's like a gear, like turning the gears of like a tank or something. I have no fucking clue what this design is. I'll be honest. I'm looking at it. I'm trying my hardest. Can't tell what's going on. And it's got a very, very dark color scheme, which makes it, a lot harder to spot that it's not just your standard CS skin. So yeah, D tier for me. I think the Nova was 100% cleaner. I might even move it up to C tier because this thing is just that bad. I honestly, this is definitely a little bit better than stock, right? You can tell this is a bit nicer than stock, but I really don't know what's going on here. So I have to put it at the bottom of D. And yeah, next up we had the P250 facility draft, so same kind of pattern, except this P250 being a lot smaller uses less of the pattern. So the P250 here almost looks like a basic grid-like pattern, and this one actually is a red color scheme. The background almost looks like a galaxy type of thing. Like if you look at like the galaxy, or if you know the nebula effect from TF2, it looks like that as a background, except with like a dark red, which actually looks kind of nice. And the grid pattern looks nice, but these parts, like here, the top and the front and the bottom here, I still don't know what that texture is supposed to be, and I don't think it looks good. It's almost like if someone put like some of that clear tape over something, right? Where like the clear tape, you can technically see through it, right? You can technically see under this design, you can still see this nice dark red and like dark blue kind of finish. But the clear tape is very visible and visibly makes what's underneath it look worse, right? Or maybe not clear tape, just kind of like your standard tape, right? Like the tan tape, where you can kind of see through it. That's kind of what this looks like to me, and it just doesn't look good. But the bottom part of the weapon kind of does, and with the P250 being as small as it is, you'll probably get a lot of patterns that either look like this, which actually that looks dope as fuck on the back here. Unfortunately, that's not on the front, but if you get this on the front, dude, this looks kind of dope. It almost looks like some kind of like space station or something flying through space with some kind of grid pattern going on, which actually, if this was the front of the weapon, this would be a dope ass skin. And even without that, just having this weird pattern cover less of the skin and more of the skin being this cool like galaxy background with the grid, I think that's enough to justify putting this in C tier. Also because it covers the whole weapon, so win-win. So yeah, C tier for me. I think it's pretty solid. I actually like the look of it. Next up is the 5.7 coolant. Very, very basic color swap. It's like a tannish white and a nice like light green. It actually, I didn't even notice this, but it uses the same pipe design as that Nova does, but it's a lot less noticeable. Um, but it's a nicer color. Like the color scheme is just nicer. Unfortunately, it has the scratch up here. Not sure if all of them will. But it's just a basic color swap. It almost just looks like a, like tannish yellow, I guess is a better way to describe it. It's tannish yellow and light green finish, which just looks clean. You can't really go wrong with this. It's very noticeably different from the stock skin. and it's just it's a solid color swap. I'm debating putting this high C or low B. I'm gonna put it high C for now because it's just it's nothing crazy, right? It's a basic color swap. No crazy color finishes like the whiteout or something. Just a very basic color swap and a pretty decent looking skin. Can't really go wrong with it. Next up, we have the PP-Bizon Facility Sketch, which I think yet again is trying to use that same design that we've seen twice already. Except being super white, you can't even see the design. It just looks like white with a bunch of random black lines going through it. And then it has like a blue thing in the back, dark blue back for some reason. Now, if it was fully white and just had that dark blue back, I'd say it looks nice. One thing I do notice about this that makes it already better is it uses this little front barrel here. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but most PP-Bizon skins, for some reason, leave this little front barrel here as stock. I don't know why it's not used in most skins, but that actually catapults this a bit higher for me. Just kind of almost looks like a white and dark blue finish. Kind of clean-ish finish. You barely notice the weird bad design of the main design, and you just see the nice color scheme underneath. So I'm gonna put this at a C tier. I think it's looks a bit nicer than that P250. It doesn't look as clean as that 5.7 though. So yeah, middle C tier. I think it's pretty justified for this. Pretty decently clean skin with a nice color scheme. Next up, we have the MP7 Motherboard, which is a half-finished skin, very noticeably stock here, like all of it's stock pretty much. And the middle of the skin has a very basic motherboard, like CPU motherboard design. It doesn't look bad, it doesn't look horrible, but with all the stock parts like this here, the handle, and everything just sticking out, being noticeably different than the main motherboard design, this ends up looking fucking horrible. I'm gonna be real. It's an unfinished skin with a kind of uninspired texture. Even if this covered the whole gun, I don't think it'd look particularly good. But this just looks bad. I can't recommend this to anyone. I'd honestly say just stick with stock. I'm gonna put this in F tier. It's unfinished and bad. Just really bad. Then we have the M4A4 mainframe, which I think it still has parts of stock, but the design almost fits with stock. So that's actually okay, right? The handle, this, that, and that being stock is somewhat okay for the first time ever in Szyl Tierlist history. I'm going to say it actually looks decent despite being half stock. The main design almost looks like the motherboard. I'm not even gonna lie, this looks like the motherboard, but just black and white instead of green, which leaving most of the weapon as stock fits a lot better, right? Black and white with black looks a lot better than green with black. Sorry, green and yellow with black, which didn't fit too well, despite black going with pretty much everything. It didn't in that case. In this case, I think it almost fits. It looks kind of nice. Definitely not a crazy upgrade from stock. I can't say I'd really go rushing to pick this thing up, and I can't say it's better than some of the other things we looked at, but I can't really also say that it's particularly bad. So I'm stuck here. I'm either gonna put this top of D or bottom of C. I'm gonna put it top of D for now. It's not particularly impressive. It definitely works a lot better than that MP7, but it still is a half-finished skin at the end of the day. It just happens to look a bit nicer with stock, but it's very hard to distinguish from stock despite very hard to distinguish from stock despite looking a little bit better. Anyway, next up is the Negev Bulkhead, which wow, okay. It looks like a makeshift Negev with kind of some yellow warning tape along the sides and stuff. And the rest of the design literally looks like this was just haphazardly tossed together by some kind of amateur. A lot of warning labels and stuff. These aren't even warning labels, they're just labels of things. But yeah, this literally looks like something someone threw together in 3 minutes, which is actually kind of cool. Kind of having a Negev's kind of known for being a kind of I don't know, almost underdeveloped weapon. It just feels loosely put together, right? When you look at the animations of the shooting and stuff. So having a design that kind of gives off the vibe of being a loosely put together weapon and a generally bright color scheme to make it super noticeable, it's actually pretty good in my opinion. Um, I'm actually kind of this is probably the best thing we looked at so far. Probably I'm having a hard time. Is I top of C or low B? I'm gonna put it in low B for here. It's I would not mind picking up one of these, and considering it's a light blue, it's actually probably really easy to. Yeah, it says 11 to 20 cents. So I might actually pick up one of these. I think it looks kind of clean. And yeah, next up is the Galil AR Cold Fusion, which wow, just looks nice. Very nice. Light blue, dark blue is really like my favorite color scheme in CS for all weapon skins, so I'm definitely very biased here for that reason. But yeah, so the light blue part has a bunch of radioactive symbols and like skulls, kind of, suggest the cold fusion of like atomic elements or something in a nuclear factory, like at Nuke, that's what that is. So that kind of goes with it, a kind of theme of the Nuke collection, I guess, a little bit. Um, yeah, generally just light blue, dark blue finish. Kind of just a mediocre, you know, skull bone design on the light blue part. Can't say I wouldn't dislike owning this thing, but I do think it falls out a bit below these two just simple yet good skins. So I'm gonna put it right there, middle C tier. I think that's where it belongs. Yeah. Next up we have the P250 Exchanger, which yet again, third time now we've seen this pipe design. This time they actually got it right. The color scheme on the rest of this P250 makes the pipes visible. I don't know why they thought for the other two weapons that the pipe should be the same color as the background or virtually identical, and that all these little kind of, I guess, labels should be the same color as well. But this is the first weapon that just has different colors for the different pipes, the different labels, and whatever. And yeah, it looks mediocre. Like I said, the pipe design isn't particularly good, but at least this one emphasizes the parts that matter. And I think this light blue like tags, especially this light blue top here, really stick out from stock. Can't say that's particularly good, but this definitely isn't bad by any means. So I'm gonna put this probably below the Cold Fusion. I think the Cold Fusion had a nicer color scheme and generally nicer design. I think basic skulls are always a kind of a decent design. You can't go wrong with them. Yeah. Next up we have the P90 Facility Negative. Facility Negative. I can't speak this video. I don't know why. Which is interesting. It definitely still uses that same shit design that we've seen a bunch of. But for some reason, with this black and white color scheme and a light blue top, bro, I might have to just re-record this. Fuck, this light blue top, uh, it just looks good. You still can't tell what the hell these designs are, but they stand out a lot more, right? You can see there's clearly something going on here. Black and white always look really nice together, and you, like I always say, you can't go wrong with a nice light blue. Now, this light blue top here definitely doesn't fit the rest of the design, but the light blue in the design, like stuff like this and like these random squares and stuff, looks really good. I think if this design went actually onto the top here and covered that, this would actually be a really beautiful looking skin. And even without it, it looks pretty solid. I would not really mind picking one of these up. Um, Probably just high C for me. I think it's the best one other than the Negev that we've really looked at. And next up, we have the MP5 SD cold processor, which uses the same motherboard design, except it's blue, which is cooler, in my opinion. I like the color blue a bit more, so kind of biased here, but I think it looks a lot cleaner than that MP7 did. But still uses a lot of the stock weapon. But at least this light dark blue finish fits a lot nicer with the rest of the stock weapon, but it's still an unfinished skin that kind of just looks uninspired. Definitely looks better than everything else in D tier, but I can't put this with anything else that we've seen in C tier whatsoever. There's no shot. So yeah, D tier. Then we have the AWP Acheron. Yeah, bunch of skulls, bones, and for some reason that nuclear symbol. I think that nuclear symbol is weird to have there, personally. I think it would look nicer without it. But yeah, use the red, white, and blue color scheme. Already said before, solid color scheme. Can't go wrong with red, white, and blue. That's why the US flag uses it. But it doesn't apply to the scope, doesn't apply to the front of weapon or anything. It's just the middle like body of the AWP, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, it's a decent finish. It's not bad, but definitely isn't good. It's kind of uninspired. So I'm gonna put this probably after the Cold Fusion. I think the Cold Fusion had a nicer color scheme, so yeah, there you go. Next up we have the Mag 7 Core Breach, which is cool. It's really cool. It's kind of like the orange color, almost like a warning, like those flashing like warning lights that you see like a nuclear container. And then a bunch of nuclear symbols, because yeah, it's a nuclear breach. The core of the nuclear facility is kind of exposed to the main facility or something. Now, unfortunately, it's a lot, as most Mag 7s are, very scratched up on the handle, the front, and a lot of it is still using the stock like weapon skin. So like the top here, these two like parallel guns and the front handle all still use the stock colors, which sucks. I'm gonna be honest. Not a fan of incomplete skins, but the base skin design is very cool and definitely works. So I'll probably put it in the top of D tier. I don't like unfinished skins. I'm gonna be honest. That could have been the dragon lore. If it's unfinished, I don't want it. I don't like unfinished skins. People should use the whole skin. Next up, we have the AUG Random Access. This is like the 80th time we've seen the motherboard design with a different color scheme. I think orange is a bit less cool than light blue, and I think it doesn't go with the stock in the front here as well. It's an unfinished skin. Definitely looks a bit better than stock, but not by much. Put it right here, right after what basically is stock, and then right before the cooler looking motherboard design. So there you go. Next up we have the Glock 18 Nuclear Garden, and this is beautiful. This lime kind of green kind of makes you think of nuclear energy, especially if you've seen The Simpsons. It's the exact like color of that little nuclear cylinder that always falls into Homer's back in the intro. Got that same color scheme, and this time the nuclear symbols on the skulls make sense because this nuclear radiation. It's a garden full of nuclear radiation and it looks fucking beautiful. I want one of these. It is absolutely beautiful. S tier skin, no question about it. I fucking love this thing. I actually high key after this video, I'm gonna look around the price of these things and see if I want to pick one up for myself. But this just works so well. It's like a tank of like nuclear, kind of like green nuclear energy you always see in like cartoons and stuff. And very nice skull and bones fit with nuclear stuff because nukes are supposed to be deadly, so that works very, very well. And this lime green color, like kind of really, really light green, it's beautiful. That's all I can say about it. This is a beautiful A1 skin for sure. Easy S tier. Yeah. Next up we have our pink, which is the M4A1S control panel. It's a very defined weapon, if nothing else. Very like it's like an almost like HD skin. Um, I can't tell what anything really is though, because it's almost like too defined. It looks almost like a foil sticker. But this little TV screen here where my mouse is, it's kind of cool. You move the lighting around it, you can very clearly like, see like the pixels and stuff, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, it's just a very defined M4 skin. Has a light blue finish somewhere in here, light blue and black for the most part, which is clean. Very nice color scheme. Wouldn't really hate picking this up. These are probably a bit expensive though, being pinks. But honestly, it's an A tier. Just a defined M4 skin with some very nice color schemes. And a lot of these random buttons and knobs that almost look random are very well placed and clearly well thought out. So I really wouldn't mind owning one of these. I'm going to put in the A tier. It's pretty solid. And our final skin is the Tech 9 Remote Control, which I think tried to use that same like HD look. And yeah, it kind of works. A lot of knobs and buttons and things of like kind of like a nuclear control panel, I guess. And everything's pretty well defined, and the front part here looks sick as fuck. I don't know if it looks like that in stock, but if it does, this is the first time I'm really looking at it and noticing it because that like HD kind of look at the weapon just looks clean. Same reason that I like the M4. I'm gonna put the Tech 9 pretty high. I think it just looked nicer on the M4 because it's more spread out like a control panel would be. But yeah, this was a really, really good collection. I was surprised by how many good skins we got to see today in the 2018 Nuke collection. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one.